I'm Geoff Mayfield. I'm going to talk to you about marketing, but I have a slightly different perspective than my fellow professors Adam LaRue and Kevin Day, who both have hands-on marketing experience. I was a senior analyst at Billboard magazine for a long time, and I was also VP of Business Analysis and Market Research at Universal Music Group. So when I look at marketing, I look at it more from a cause and effect point of view, which kind of campaigns, which kind of promotions are effective, which ones aren't. I teach here a marketing budgeting class. So it's not a marketing class, it's more about how you manage your resources in marketing, and that's the kind of perspective I wanted to share with you today. Now, a lot of what I'm going to talk about will have to do with working with music from the grassroots level, because I have a suspicion that a lot of people who might see this video are at that point in their career. But I also wanted to start with a major label view in case some of you end up working for a large record company somewhere. I thought it might be helpful for you to have the perspective of what the changes are happening in a larger company. So for the marketing budgeting class, I got some perspectives from several different professionals, management companies, record label executives, independent consultants who help get do-it-yourself music into the market. And I compiled a handout for our students. So I'm going to share, first of all, an excerpt from Gary Kelly, who is Executive Vice President and Chief Revenue Officer for Interscope A&M Geffen, a major label that Universal Music Group owns. This is what Gary says. Since 2000, the music business has been at the forefront of change due to file sharing and music downloads, which cut revenues in half and therefore pulled back the amount of marketing dollars available. These marketing budgets used to feel limitless, but the days of $500,000 music budgets for a music video and hundreds of thousands of dollars to put an artist on the road are no longer realistic. We have to adjust our way of bringing artists into the marketplace by adjusting how we reach the consumers, whether by more engagement via artist socials or collaborating with brands that fit the aesthetic of the artist. Brands play a role in extending marketing budgets, along with reach outside of the normal marketing channels to reach new fans and satisfy the diehards. Look no further than Bud Light, who partnered with Lady Gaga and us on the incredibly successful Dive Bar tour, which was a major part of our album rollout in the fourth quarter of 2016. We also work with channel marketing partners like Target, who want to associate themselves with interesting artists that are culturally important, therefore making their customers more sticky to their brand. The last 3 Grammy Awards saw incredible campaigns with Interscope artists, including Imagine Dragons, who we turned 4 minutes of TV commercial time into a narrative performance commercial by the band. The groundbreaking campaign was the central part of their US release. So that was Gary's point of view. I also wanted to share you for maybe closer to grassroots level, a couple of different people. One is Kelly Straw. She works with the management company, used to work at Columbia Records. She works with Modest Management, who manages One Direction, 5 Seconds of Summer. And there's something that she had to share which I think is helpful for you to think about in terms of managing resources when you're marketing music. Always plan your budgets for the worst case scenario and spend time explaining the plan to those who approve budgets. In this industry, we're constantly adapting marketing strategy and rollout plans in real time based on current consumption habits. It's important that your creative deliverables don't suffer because of it. Anticipating potential needs ahead of time will save time and sanity later. It's much better to have money left over than to seek overage approvals in the moment. This is most important when budgeting music for music videos, photo shoots, B-roll, other content. No matter how well you plan, there will always be overages and a slight buffer is a must. While worst case scenario budget approvals won't always be possible, I found it beneficial to sit with the finance team or department heads and give them context with the request. If it's not approved, then there's at least visibility of where the money may be needed later if plans shift. So that was her perspective. And the last one I want to share with you is a fellow named Geoff Castellos, who is now an artist manager, but he's also been the head of both an independent small label called Danger Bird and also of a major label, Elektra Records. And Geoff has a pretty broad perspective, so I wanted to share this as the last thing I share with you from that handout that I gave to our students. Some things to remember when building a marketing budget. 1. PR, radio, web, design vendors will always reduce their fee if you ask them up front. They all need to make a living as badly as you need promotion of your single or your album. 2, always build in a contingency. He's saying the same thing that Kelly did. So you have flexibility as your campaign wears on. 20% feels good. In other words, 20% of what you put aside for budget, that should be for money that might be spent on this, might be spent on that. Number 3, remember that writing and budgeting your marketing plan is only part of the job. More important is actually running all your vendors on a daily, hourly basis. The reality is all of these people have other projects. Even the best of them will have many priorities. Be sure that you are one of them. 4, last and most important is communication. You need to broadcast your legitimate great news so that everyone on your team has up-to-date and accurate info. Since you don't all work in the same office, this will take some good practices. So when you get an ad at a big radio station that will matter to your agent and TV bookers, it adds legitimacy. Those people love to know that other people love an artist or a song. Confirming a big TV commercial sync will matter to everyone on your team. So be a good bragger so that all on your team can use every significant win to the advantage of the overall project. Thing to keep in mind is, even if you're early in your career and you just have little success stories, the same thing that Geoff talked about here is something for you to keep in mind. If you have a little success, you're now playing at a larger place than you used to play. That's something that maybe you can promote. You definitely want to do that on social media, but maybe if you have enough of those little success stories, you have a reason to knock on somebody's door who writes about music and get them to cover your story. I wanted to share with you too, there were a couple of people who were guest lecturers in the marketing budgeting class. Both of them are independent consultants here in Los Angeles. One is Daniel Savage, another is Fred Crochelle. They both had extensive major label experience before they began working with do-it-yourself artists and even some significant artists. They helped these artists get music to market. And I wanted to share with you advice from each of them. Daniel advises that you look at other artists whose music might be similar to your own. If you're in a do-it-yourself situation, someone whose music is similar to you, if they've had any kind of success, you want to look. What are they doing on social media? What are they doing on Facebook? What are they doing on Twitter? Did they advertise somewhere? You might even go to shows. If it's another local artist like yourself, go to their shows. Chat them up. Tell them you're a fan. See if you can pick their brains and find out how it is that they got to be where they are. And the same things that work for them could very well work for you. That's the advice I got from Daniel. From Fred Crochelle, he says that the thing that's important, whether it's he's worked with big artists like TLC and Bonnie Raitt, but he's also worked with some artists you haven't heard of yet. Whether it's a well-known artist or a new artist, Fred's advice is always separate the things that you have to have from the things that you would like to have. Depending on where you are in your career, it very well might be that hiring a publicist would be something that you need. You've gotten enough success that you want to try and make it a bigger story. That might be a need. But at the same time, you might say, gee, it would be great if we get played on the radio. But paying for radio promotion before you're ready to get to that level of exposure could mean that you're going to spend an awful lot of money and never hear your music on the radio. So you want to try and separate the things that you absolutely must have from the things that you would like to have. It could be that the things that you would like to have are going to be more realistic for you later on, but in the beginning, when you put your marketing budget together, you want to make sure that you separate the things that you absolutely have to have from those that you don't. Whether you're working with do-it-yourself music or you end up lucky enough to work with a large music company of some kind, one thing I would absolutely stress is social media. It is a got-to-have, and it's also cost-effective compared to buying ads on TV, doing street signs, billboards, what have you. You can do some pretty effective things on social media for little money, and it also offers you the advantage of looking at analytics. You look at the analytics that you can get from Facebook, from Twitter, from Instagram, YouTube, and you might get some insights about how you should be directing your marketing dollars and your marketing energy that you wouldn't have if you didn't look at the data from people who already like your music. So that would be a really key thing. I also wanted to suggest to you, and I did not have anything to do with either of these books, but I wanted to suggest to you a couple of resources. One is the textbook that I used for our marketing budgeting class. It's called Record Label Marketing. And it's good in two senses. It gives you an overview of where the music industry is. This book was last revised just a couple of years ago. So it's got some developments, including music streaming and social media in here that you might not find in an older textbook. Might be worth your while to find out. This is the 3rd edition. It might be worthwhile finding out when they're going to do a 4th edition. But it's called Record Label Marketing by Amy Macy, Clyde Rolston, Paul Allen, and Tom Hutchison. The other one I want to suggest is called Music Marketing for the DIY Musician. I haven't taught from this book, but I've read it. This is a fellow named Bobby Board. He was in a band called Warrant, which had big success here during the 90s. But for the past 10 years or so, he's actually been doing a lot of academic work, helping other people figuring out do-it-yourself marketing. He's taught at some programs, he's guest lectured at a lot of schools, and this is a really good grassroots book. If you're working on a low budget, I would suggest that this would be something you'd want to dig into as well. And that, again, his name is Bobby Board. That's all I have to share with you. I guess the last thing I would say is pay attention. You want to keep that success going, but you want to make sure that you're cost efficient about how you're spending your marketing dollars. So always make sure you're getting return on your investment.